Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. This is Ben Kinney, joined today with Bob and Chad, and we are here for part 3 of the Influence and Persuasion series. Today, we're going to be diving in to the concept of scarcity. Some of you may have read the book by Robert Cialdini or Dr. Robert Cialdini called Influence. And we're spending a little bit of time talking about his book and this series and how persuasion and influence can be used in your life and your business, whether it's sales, recruiting, marketing, or how it's being used against you currently.
That's a good point you're making there, Ben, because remember, folks, if you're not persuading and influencing someone, they're probably persuading and influencing you, aren't they?
We're always being sold. Either we're selling or they're selling us, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. So what is scarcity? The rule of scarcity is that which is rare or becoming less available is always more appealing.
Like my hair.
Definitely like Chad's hair. He looks like the
that
Mr. Clean Man.
Yeah, that which is gone becomes more appealing.
All right.
If you literally can't get it.
That's why I like dinosaur fossils.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's definitely limited.
Yeah. So, scarcity. We want basically what we can't have, or we want what others can't have. Can you guys think of a time in your lives when you were personally influenced by scarcity to make a decision, to buy something, to do something? Anybody have a good story?
Well, this is not any given time. This is like once a month for me. We've talked about my shoe problems. That's what they do these days. They put these things out there. There's a limited supply of them. I know every month when that special Jordan comes out, like, I got to be there at 7 a.m. And if I'm not right on the ball, like, that thing's going to be gone. And the reality is I might not even be there showing up if I didn't think that this thing was going to be a limited supply, right? When they run shoes that have millions of pairs, like, I don't buy them.
What about you, Chad?
I can remember a few stories. I remember when the original Batman movie opened. Maybe the movie was going to run for a while, yet I wanted to be at the first showing. There's only a certain number of seats that can be available, and I waited online 8 hours. I skipped school and stood online for 8 hours to make sure I had tickets when that box office opened so I could be at the first showing because I knew there were only 300 seats in the theater. It was a scarcity situation. I can also think, we were talking about this earlier, I think the biggest scarcity thing that all of our listeners can relate to is going to be the Christmas toy fiascos, right? And I know we would have gotten to this sooner or later anyway, but you can think about all of those toys that became scarce. Think about the Cabbage Patch Kid madness, right? Or think about Tickle Me Elmo. Think about all these wonderful toys that kids had to have. The blessing I had, Ben, and you were the one who brought this up, the blessing I had is my daughter's birthday's in March. So here, the stores would go crazy. They'd run out of Tickle Me Elmos. I could get away with making it a birthday gift for her. She didn't know at that age still, and we were able to wait, and it was a double sale they were getting out of people.
Yeah, that's the blessing for you said, but that was really the blessing for Target, right? Like, you showed up at Target, you couldn't get the Tickle Me Elmo. You just said, all right, I'll just come back to Target in February when it'll be there again to buy it in March. So you bought something else for her in December.
Right.
Then you bought another thing in March, right? And maybe Target doesn't get your business that way if you had been able to buy Tickle Me Elmo originally.
And this is what's interesting is that's intentional. Every single year, there are toys and items created that they will underproduce the amount of to create demand. You go off and buy the non-Tickle Me Elmo present, but after Christmas, you still feel obligated to buy the real Tickle Me Elmo, which miraculously shows up around January 10th, and you go out there and you buy this additional gift, thus creating two customers for the toy industry, for the toy stores, etc. This is intentional. Scarcity is used against us and by us all the time. In order to take advantage of scarcity, you have to be able to show very tangible examples, very tangible ways that if people don't take action right now, there's going to be something lost. If you don't respond right away, you're going to lose. If you don't buy right away, you're going to lose. If you don't accept this position right away, you're going to lose. The science around scarcity says that you need to create, Bob, a feeling of potential loss. Chad.
Yeah, I remember, Ben, back in the real estate boom of 03, 04, wherever exactly it was. I was in Las Vegas at the time, and I mean, that was one of the hottest markets that there was. You'd walk into any new home community, and there was a sign on the desk when you walked in, and it was worded differently at every new home community, but basically it said this: the house you looked at today that you're going to go home and think about tonight and come back tomorrow to purchase is the house someone looked at yesterday, thought about last night, and is on their way in right now. And it's the only one we have left. And there would be people who were just buying houses all over the place, which just fueled it. It wasn't necessarily there was the scarcity of, well, we're only building 2 houses. Yet it was at this moment, there's only one left for sale. There's only one left in this phase. Oh, we'll release another phase next week and catch you again. We'll get you on that Tickle Me Elmo purchase later if we don't get you today. But we're going to lock you in today with that scarcity in short bursts.
Ben, one of the things that Cialdini explores in the book is the idea that, and you mentioned it here, right, is like, what are they going to miss out on is actually more powerful than like, what value are they going to get from that thing, right? So a lot of us would go and even from a scarcity perspective, we would say, hey, this is rare. And when you get it, you're going to get all these benefits. But the actual more powerful way would be to say, this is rare. And if you don't get it, you're going to miss out on all these benefits.
I'd like to say that I'm intelligent enough to know when scarcity is being used against me. However, it works. The fear of loss, the fear of having something, like all of these different things motivate me.
Sure.
I always have. I take action in that. Now, when we dove into learning about scarcity as our little podcast group here, we identified 5 different ways that scarcity could be used in your marketing, your business, your sales, etc. I'm going to read through all 5, and let's just talk about them individually, kind of as a group, and we'll give some ideas and stories and talk about some things that we've done personally in our own businesses and lives, right?
Awesome. A list. Bob. All right, Ben.
Number 1, an element used to create scarcity is competition.
Okay.
Seeing a bunch of people trying to grab the last thing lately, the last thing of toilet paper, creates competition, anxiety. So first one, competition.
Got it.
Number 2, price change. Good example. You go to look at something today, tomorrow, it's more expensive. What is your fear?
It's not going to be there the next day.
Or the next day it's going to be
even more
money.
Yeah.
Yes. Even Bob and I are junior unofficial stock traders.
Yeah.
Just seeing the price of a stock going up, we get mad at each other. We missed it. We should have bought more.
Yeah.
We should have not sold, whatever that might be. You get that feeling, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 3, exclusivity or specific requirements. You have to qualify, Chad, to buy this thing.
No,
I don't know if you're qualified. I don't know if you can meet the requirements for this particular item. Number 4, takeaways, unavailables, sold out. You walk in, you're kind of curious about something, and they say, well, 2 of the 3 models are gone. All we have is this one last one. It's the premium. It's the biggest iPhone, right? But it's the only one we have. Somebody will probably sell it. Won't be here tomorrow. A takeaway, unavailable, sold out signs. It makes you want it. 5, increasing visible demand. Bob, the club, Bob was a clubber, ladies and gentlemen. Like when he was 21 years old, right? He was doing curls for the girls, and he was going to the club, and he saw a line out there, and he thought to himself, I have to get in to this place. Look at that line. And when you got in, what'd you find?
Nobody in there.
Nothing. It was empty. It was artificially created for demand. So we're going to talk about these and give some examples of what we've done in our own lives, businesses, or what we've observed from other companies, businesses, and so on, and talk about using scarcity in our world. One of you guys gets to decide which one we're going with first and what the story is.
I'll start with competition. So one of the companies, Ben, and we've talked about this company before. I'll say the name. I don't think we've ever said the name before. Active Rain is this company, and One of the ways that we had this explosive growth inside of the company is we created essentially just an artificial scoring system that led to competition, and the results, the winner, the person that had the most points or the highest score got really a nominal value, right? They got it kind of displayed in this prominent place on the website, right? Which potentially could have led to more business for them. And that idea that somebody could live in that spot and it was based on these points created the most like bizarre behavior I've ever seen, right? Where you've got grown adults, business people who are like needed their 100 points that they didn't get because they logged in that day or whatever. So this idea of like putting people and pitting them against each other for this one kind of coveted, scarce spot just led to this behavior. We could literally take that audience, and you're, intimately familiar with this, Ben, but we could take that audience and persuade them to do certain things that were in their best interest and ours, right? Create certain types of content that would drive visitors to the website. And so, I mean, that's just was one of the preeminent kind of examples of competition in our own world.
And that created a company that grew very quickly, became the largest social network in the real estate industry from basically zero to over 300,000 members. That company was getting offers to purchase for tens and tens of millions of dollars because they figured out competition. They figured out how to gamify the social network. And I remember because I was a member of it before I even became associated with the company. It's one of the companies we own today. But it didn't mean as much to me, Bob, that I was number one. It meant more to me. I was pissed that somebody was ahead of me.
Yeah.
Right? And especially if it was somebody I didn't like, right? I'm not going to let this particular person beat me, right? Could have been any other nice person in the world. I would have been fine with it, but not Bob. Like, Bob is not going to beat me on this. It drives you because there can only be, Chad, one first place. And if there was more than one first place, what would we call it?
First assist.
First assist says, right? Competition drives scarcity. Can you think of any other competition example?
I was going to take it right to Bob here. You told us a story on a past episode about your son competing, and he won his badge or his trophy or whatever it was.
He got his
participation medal, right? And I take the competition out into the race world, out into the things that I like to do and work out. And there's tons of participation medals out there, yet there's only one first place medal. And that's that competition. It's the scarcity. And for some people, it's I can't handle someone else beating me. And for other people, and what do we do once we get it? It's a medal that might mean nothing, yet it goes and hangs up on the wall. I mean, name for me some gold medal winners in the Olympics, and you could name a few who became household names, yet the competition out there, they fought, they trained because that was the gold medal, yet we might not remember them today. But it was the thing that definitely drove them because there was that scarcity of how many medals there are out there.
So what can you do in your marketing or in your recruiting or in your business to create scarcity? I would say, one of the things that a business needs, we've talked about it, is people. So when you're interviewing people and you're making it seem like anybody can apply and that person's in control, you're going to run into a problem. Why don't you change the conversation a little bit and say, unfortunately, we only have one opening. We have over 100 applicants. You seem very talented and very qualified. However, we owe these other very talented people a due process. What does that person start thinking?
What could I do to not get you to interview those other 100?
Yeah, like
don't lock me in right now.
Yeah. I want to win.
Yep.
You can't choose somebody else besides me. But most people, right, they interview somebody and the person walks out. I'll let you know. You might be able to do that, but this position is not a let me know position. I have 100 people that applied for this position. Right? You have to use your words and be truthful, but to explain that there is scarcity. And that person will wake up and say, I'm not going to get beat. Right? Now, let's take another one. Pricing changes.
Okay.
One of the stories that I remember reading was about how the airlines, when you go and you visit a flight, I'm going to see how much it costs to fly to Disneyland, Bob, right? And they track your browser, your cookie, they track you. And then when you go back there, they increase the price by $13. So what do you feel like?
If I come back again tomorrow, it's going to be another $13.
Yeah. And they use this to manipulate us into buying now because of our fear that it's going to cost more and more and more and more money. Now, how do you know that? You open up an incognito tab and you go back and you search for the same exact thing and you realize that.
The price went back down.
Here would be another one in increasing visible demand in that same type of industry. You ever search for a seat and it says only 2 left?
Yes.
Only 1 left? Only 1 at this price?
Yes.
Right? There could be 100 of them left, but they're going to say only 1 at this specific price because it's 1 penny different.
Correct.
Which motivates you to say, well, I can't not get that hotel because if I don't get that hotel, Bob's wife's going to kill him.
Right.
Because they want to stay at the castle at Disneyland.
Yep. You gave the best example, I think, with the price change and scarcity, and that's the stock market. How we look at that price changing. How many times have we looked at a stock? I mean, even today we were having a conversation and Bob was telling us about a stock. And I said, I'm going to pick up a share. He said, don't bother now. I mean, now it's already made its money. I mean, how many of us won't buy stock in Apple or Tesla because of what we already figure we've missed out? We missed because of that price change, the opportunity. Yet who knows what's still to come from these things. The price changes on those daily, hourly, minutely. Can you say minutely? Is minutely a thing?
I don't know if that's a word.
All right. Well, it is.
Costco has a whole strategy around this, right, Chad? When you walk into a Costco, the last 2 digits in anything in terms of how it's priced tell you something about that product. So if it's priced with 99 cents, that tells you there's some kind of a manufacturer rebate on that thing. If it's priced at 88 cents, so it's $4.88, that tells you that thing is out of production. They're not going to have it in Costco's anymore, and that's your last chance to grab that thing, right? So you know that, like, if you're thinking about getting that thing and it's got 488 on it, when you come into Costco next week, it's not going to be there.
Or if it's got an asterisk. The asterisk means we are not reordering this product. So, folks, we just gave you a tip. When you go into Costco and you see something you want, if there's an asterisk listed by the price, or it's at that 88 cents, or right at the 00, buy as many of them as you can because you're not going to find it the next time you go back to Costco.
You know, price changes are used in the real estate industry all the time. Agents will underprice a property to get a lot of activity, right? To bid it up and sell for over. Or they'll do a dramatic price reduction. And all of a sudden you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm interested now. There's lots of ways that pricing changing can be used to us and around us. Can you guys think of any other examples from this list of 5?
Oh, I mean, there's tons of them, Ben. I mean, if you look at the sold out, the takeaway, the unavailable situation, I mean, we can go back to the gas shortage that happened in the late 70s. I mean, most people on the podcast, probably half our audience are like, what? I don't remember, right? But the gas shortage where you had to go to the gas station based on the day of your license plate, the number at the end of it told you what day you could go get gas because it was unavailable. It was sold out. There's the great story about the Concorde, right? That they even talk about right in the book.
Nobody wanted to fly in the Concorde because it was so expensive, right?
And then when they said, hey, the Concorde's going offline in the next 30 days, we're no longer going to have Concorde
half the flights. They were two a day, and they went down to 1 a day.
And then all of a sudden, tickets sold like
Everybody
that
wanted
because
that.
it was a last chance to get on the Concorde and go for a flight.
Nobody wanted to miss that opportunity. I remember when they announced that they may not be allowing people to go see Machu Picchu, which is some ancient ruins in Peru. I thought, I got to get there because I'm going to miss my chance. There's lots of ways that we are used. Bob, what else are you thinking?
So this idea of like the takeaway, unavailable, sold out, I ranted about this in my Instagram stories the other day. For at least as it relates to retail, right? For all of humanity until the internet, if you walked into a store and that thing was gone, you didn't see that thing staring back at you. It was just gone, right? You would have never even known potentially that the store carried that thing, Chad.
Okay.
Right? Today on the internet, you go to that website to get that thing and it's gone. What do you see?
I see that it's not available.
You see it there.
Yeah.
And you see it sold out.
Yep.
This is a total change. It's like a mind F, right? They're like, before, you just never thought about it again because you didn't even know it was gone because when you walked in the store, it wasn't there.
I couldn't miss out on it.
They didn't hang a picture of it there and be like, hey, sorry, Chad, if you would have been here yesterday, you could have got this thing.
Right.
But now we have to look at these things. So there's a sweatshirt that I wanted, right? And Facebook served me this stupid ad. They served me this ad, okay? And I click on it. All they have is an extra small. So I literally reach out to the company. It's the coolest sweatshirt. I'm like, hey, Todd Snyder. I'm like, are you guys going to restock this deal? And they said, yes, we're going to restock it, but it might be a month from now. It might be 6 months from now. Every time they serve that ad to me again, I click on that stupid ad. I just want to see, they got my size, they got my extra large, they got my extra large. Like, I wanted that sweatshirt so much worse because I could see it there and it was unavailable to me. It ended up coming back. I ended up buying the sweatshirt, and I'm convinced.
You did buy it finally.
Yeah, I did. And by the time I bought it, Chad, I had clicked on enough of their ads that I don't think they made anything on me. So there you go, Todd Snyder.
You know, in marketing, some examples we talked about. There's only X amount of rooms left, or X amount of seats on the plane, or X amount available at this price. What about this particular software product is invite only? You have to know somebody to be a part of it.
Oh. Gmail was like that in the very beginning.
Gmail was like that, and you wanted to,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, I remember when that was a craze, and who's got a Gmail invite? Active Rain was a thing then. People were passing them around in there. And
even Facebook, when it launched, you had to have a college email address in order to.
Right, and that kind of fits in that exclusivity, right? Those strict requirements you were talking about that things will have, that everyone can't just grab it and go out there. You've got to know someone who has it that you can get it from.
Or in our Robinhood stock trading app, when you sign up for whatever the new thing is, right? And they say, you're number 184,000 of 500,000 waiting, but you can skip in front of the line if you invite 5 people.
Yeah, I think I'm finally approved for fractional shares.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for that. I'll invite Bob, and hey, Bob, Chad, you guys to sign up for this thing.
Yep.
There's lots of ways that scarcity is used and can be used to motivate us to do something. I encourage you all to think about how to implement those things in your marketing, in your conversations, and in your sales and recruiting strategies.
Scarcity it's a huge thing, right? I mean, we were joking before we even started recording this one. Just before you started the introduction, Bob wanted to do the introduction for this episode. And we've talked, Ben, that we think it's pretty scarce. There's one episode out there that Bob Stewart actually is the intro to the episode. You see, it makes that episode that much more special because it's the only one, as of today, that Bob's out there on the intro. So we're going to challenge you to go out and find the episode where Bob Stewart is your welcoming voice, because that episode is scarce, and we are going to influence you to go find it and listen to it. We're also going to ask you to share the podcast. We're going to make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Don't forget those ratings and reviews. We do love them. And as always, do good.